Hello everyone, this video is brought to you by the 7th Monk. This is lecture 3 of unit 2 Money and Banking. Here we will be learning about the central bank. So from the past lecture it is clear to you that in the banking system there are two types of banks, central bank and commercial banks. Central bank is at the apex of the banking system and it controls and regulates all the commercial banks in the country. In India, Reserve Bank of India is the central bank. Alright, we are already done with commercial banks in the last lecture. In this lecture, we will do the central banks in detail. Okay, so there is only one central bank in a country, right? In the last lecture, I told you that bank is any institution which receives deposit and grant loan. Okay, so commercial banks were receiving deposit and were granting loans to the public, whereas central bank is a bank of all the commercial banks and the bank of government, right? So it does all these important functions, all these banking functions with these two institutions, okay, commercial banks and government. So central bank is a banker to the government and a banker to the commercial banks. The main aim of central bank is public welfare, the welfare of the society, and in order to bring stabilization in the economy it functions, whereas the commercial bank is functioning for profit maximization, okay. And central bank has a monopoly right of note issue in the country. There is an off-task question in CBSE board exam that are all financial institutions bank? No, not necessarily, right? Because there are many other financial institutions as well, like insurance companies, post office, which are dealing with money and finance, but they are not necessarily bank. So bank is any institution which is only performing these two primary functions of accepting deposit and of granting loan, okay. And we can see that insurance companies and other financial institutions provide some advanced services which the banks do not provide. Banks only deals with these two primary functions. Alright, so if a question asks you what a central bank is, then there you can explicitly mention that a central bank is the apex institution of a country that controls and regulates the monetary and financial system of a country, and in India, Reserve Bank of India, that is RBI, operates as the central bank. So let's see what are its functions and what are its features so that this can become more clear to you. So the features of central bank cites as follows. It is an apex bank and regulates money supply and credit in the country. Okay. So what is this money supply? You already know because we discussed it in detail in the past lectures. I told you there that money supply is the total amount of money or credit that is held by the public, not public but the entire economy at a particular point of time in the form of currency as well as demand deposits, okay. So that is called money supply. So sometimes there is a large money supply in the economy and sometimes the money supply is very low. When there is large money supply, then there is inflation, but when there is low money supply in the economy, then there is deflation. So in order to correct the situation of inflation and deflation, the central bank steps in with its measures of credit control that we will discuss later in this video. Alright, so in that way it controls the money supply and credit in the country. Then it does not deals with the public, okay. I told you that it is the bank of the government and the bank of commercial banks. It does not deals with public. It provides its banking services to government as well as to commercial banks, and it functions for the welfare of the economy. This is its major aim, alright. Whereas the aim of commercial banks was to maximize the profit, and it has the exclusive right to issue currency notes, okay. So RBI is the only institution in our country that can issue currency notes, but there is one denomination that is of rupee 1 which is issued by the finance ministry. So if a question asks you that is RBI the only authority of issuing currency notes in our country, then please mention no. Why? Because rupee 1 note is issued by the finance ministry, right? So you cannot write it explicitly, okay, because there are two institutions. Although most of the major denominations are issued by RBI, but not all, okay. There is one exception of rupee 1 note, right? Now let's see what are the functions of the central bank in detail. So the first major function is monopoly right of note issue. Now what does it mean? So RBI is the sole authority of note issue Therefore, it lead to many benefits, right? RBI is the only authority in our country that can issue notes, okay? Finance ministry can also issue, but it issues only 1 rupee note, okay? And all the other denominations are issued by the Reserve Bank of India, okay? So Reserve Bank of India is the only institution which can issue all the other notes in the country. Now it leads to uniformity in note circulation, okay? Otherwise there will be unevenness. We know right now that there are some particular denomination like rupees 2000 note, then we have 500, then 200, then 100, 50, 10, sorry 20, 10, then we have 5 rupee note, okay? After that we have some coins, okay? We know that there is some uniformity in note circulation. If there would be many institutions publishing notes, then there would have been a lot of confusion and non-uniformity, okay? So in order to bring uniformity, it is important that there should be only one institution which is issuing the notes in the country, and it has all the all the rights, okay? All the control over the circulation of notes in the country. It knows how much notes are currently in circulation, okay? So that's why there is uniformity in note circulation. Then it enables the government to control money supply through RBI, okay? I told you that there are various measures of credit control that are there with the central bank, through which it controls the situation of inflation and deflation, that is money supply. When money supply is high, it is inflation. When money supply is low in the economy, then that is deflation. And RBI controls all these situations with the help of its credit control measures that we will study in detail later on in this video, okay? Then it builds public faith in the currency system. People have faith that if they have money in their pocket, they can buy whatever they want. They can eat food, drink water, buy a glass of milk, or anything that they like, okay? No seller can deny a payment that is made in money, okay? Because it is the legal tender money. It has the power of law, right? Then it helps the government to have supervision and control over the central bank. So that's why this monopoly right of note issue is extremely important. Sometimes this question is asked as a 3-marker there. Please mention all these points of uniformity, and then control over money supply, and then builds faith in the currency system, and also helps the government to supervise and control the central bank, okay? So these all are extremely important point, and if you will mention all these points, certainly you will get good marks, right? So I hope this is clear to you, the first function. Now let's move to the second function. It is banker to the government. I told you in the previous slide that RBI, or the central bank, provides its banking services to commercial banks and to government, okay? So this function says it is providing the banking services to the government. Now as a banker to the government, which type of service does RBI provide, okay? You have to mention about it while mentioning this function of RBI. So you all know that what a bank is. A bank has all the deposits, okay? And we can also take loan from a bank. So as a banker to the government, it provides all such services, right? It receives all the deposits of the government. It has all the deposits of the government with itself. So whatever budget receipt government receives is deposited with the RBI, and as and when the government requires, that money is allocated for different schemes and is taken out from RBI to the respective areas wherever that money is allocated, all right? And it also provides cash to the government for payment of wages and salaries of the government staff, okay? As all the reserve of government is with RBI, okay? So that's why government provides its money to various staffs through RBI, right? And it also provides foreign exchange to the government. Now what do we mean by saying foreign exchange? Foreign exchange means foreign currency, okay? So whenever the government needs foreign currency, the central bank provides the government with the foreign currency. Government needs foreign currency in order to stabilize the value of its own currency, okay? You would have heard that the value of rupee keeps on fluctuating in relation to dollar, okay? So that value goes on fluctuating because of supply and demand of foreign exchange in the foreign exchange market. Okay, that is in the market of foreign currencies. We will do this in detail in our last unit because that unit deals totally with foreign exchange rate and balance of payment. We will do it in detail, but right now just remember that in some occasions government need foreign exchange, that is a currency of other countries, and the RBI supplies that foreign exchange to the government. All right, and then the next important function that RBI does as a banker to the government is of fiscal agent. So all the taxes that the government receives are there with RBI. Okay, so it collects taxes on the behalf of the government and manages public debt. Then central bank advises the government on economic, banking and financial matters. It provides its all banking services to government. All right, hope that this is clear to you. Now let's move to the other important function. It is banker to the banks and supervisor. Now what does it mean by saying banker to the banks and supervisor? Banks means all commercial banks. So I told you that central bank is providing its banking services to government as well as to commercial banks. Okay, so the last feature told you that how it provides its banking services to the government. In this feature we will learn that how it provides its banking services to the other banks, that is to commercial banks. So first of all, it is a custodian of cash reserves. Now what do I mean by saying custodian of cash reserve? It means it holds a part of the cash reserve of banks, because commercial banks are supposed to deposit cash reserve ratio with the central bank as a measure of credit control. Okay, I told you previously as well that all the commercial banks are required to keep a part of their total reserves, total deposits with the central bank, okay, as a measure of credit control in the form of cash reserve ratio. Okay, so if the cash reserve ratio is 10% and the total deposits with the commercial banks is rupees 100 crore, then they are required to keep 10% of rupees 100 crore, that is 10 crore, with the RBI. Okay, and why they are required to keep it? It is a measure of credit control. Whenever there is a huge money supply in the economy, then in order to curb that money supply, the Reserve Bank of India increases this cash reserve ratio so that most of the money of commercial banks could be parked with the central bank and they will be left with a very less amount with themselves in order to give loans to the public. In that way the money supply in the economy can be curbed, right? Similarly, when there is a situation of deflation, that is when there is low money supply in the economy, at that time central bank reduces this cash reserve ratio, okay, so that more money can be available with these commercial banks to lend to the public and the supply of money can be increased. So this cash reserve ratio is a measure of credit control. So custodian of cash reserves means that all the commercial banks are required to park some of their funds from the percentage of total deposit with the Reserve Bank of India, that is the central bank, as a measure of credit control. Okay, and then the next important function is a function of lender of last resort. Lender means one who give loan and last resort means aakhri ummeed. So when the commercial banks fail to get loan from other sources, then it approaches the central bank and central bank provide loans to it in such situations and act as a savior and hence performs the function of lender of last resort. Now when this situation occurs, when the commercial bank needs a loan from the RBI, okay, so sometimes there are occasions when a bank suffer a crisis of confidence. It occurs when the depositors fear that the bank may run out of its cash reserve, so they start withdrawing their deposits. You all know that that the bank keeps SLR with themselves, that is statutory liquidity ratio, in order to meet the funds, in order to meet the demand of the depositors, okay, whenever they are coming to withdraw their money, so that they can be provided with the money that they require. That's why SLR, that is statutory liquidity ratio, is maintained. But suppose statutory liquidity ratio is just 10% and the total deposits are 100 crore, then the commercial banks will be required to keep only rupees 10 crore with themselves, okay. And if too many depositors come together to withdraw their money and the amount that they require is 50 crore, then it would be very tough for the commercial banks to repay this money. Okay, then they will approach various sources wherever they have invested that money in order to recover it, and if they will fail to recover that money, okay, then they will approach to the central bank, okay, to the RBI, and in such case RBI will provide them loan against some approved securities, and in that case RBI will act as a savior and hence will perform the function of lender of last resort. Okay, so when the public start withdrawing their deposits beyond what the bank can afford at a time, okay, so in such a situation that the central bank acts as a lender of last resort, it offers loan to the commercial bank to cope with the crisis of confidence. All right, so I hope that this is clear to you, that whenever commercial banks fail to get cash from other sources, it approaches the central bank, which gives financial accommodation, that is loans, to the commercial banks against approved securities, and hence functions as a lender of the last resort. I hope that this is clear to you. Now this function is extremely important because it is asked in the examination for many times. Okay, so this function is the extremely important function of this entire unit because it is asked as a 3 marker or as a part of some 6 markers too, and this is a part for which I am so sure that it will come in your examination, so focus on it very much. Right, now let's discuss the other feature, that other important function that central bank performs as a banker to the banks. It is of clearing house. I told you, as we all have our account with various commercial banks, in the same way all the commercial banks have their account with the central bank. Okay, now let's take the example of 2 commercial banks, SBI and PNB. Okay, so both will have their account with RBI. This is the account of SBI and this is the account of PNB. Now suppose in some situations SBI has taken a loan of rupees 10 crore from PNB. Okay, so in order to return it, it can just simply write a letter to RBI citing RBI to transfer rupees 10 crore from the account of SBI to the account of PNB. Okay, so in this way the account of SBI will be cleared and the account of PNB will be filled with rupees 10 crore. Okay, so hence RBI will function, will give the facility of clearing house to all the commercial banks. Okay, without any transfer, without any direct transfer, the RBI will transfer the money from their account with their account to the account of PNB, which are there with RBI. Okay, we often do it as well. Okay, what we do, we give checks, na, we give checks. Okay, and checks, and we also do some online banking in which the money from our account is transferred to the account of the person from whom we have taken some money. Okay, in the same way RBI is also providing such facility to commercial banks of transferring money from the account of one bank to the account of other commercial bank. In this way it performs the function of clearing house. Okay, so I hope that this is also clear to you, and it is also important. Sometimes it is also asked in the examination. Then as a supervisor, central bank supervises, regulates and controls all the commercial banks. Okay, so these are the important functions that central bank performs as a banker to the banks and supervisor. Okay, so the question may ask you to explain this entire function of bankers to the bank or supervisor, or else it can ask a part of it, and from that the possibility of lender of last resort is the most, right? And they can also ask you about this function, banker to the government, so you have to write all the points that we discussed. So these are the 2 very important functions which are often asked in your examination. Now coming to the next important function of the Reserve Bank of India, it is custodian of foreign exchange reserves. I told you that foreign exchange means the currency of foreign country. Okay, the currency of other country. So RBI has all the foreign exchange reserves with itself as well as the stock of gold, and these are the 2 things which helps it to maintain the value of our own currency in the international market. Okay, the value, the currency is not minted recklessly. It is minted by taking gold and the stock of foreign exchange into consideration. Okay, that's why we will be able to maintain the value of our currency in the international market. All right, now see, The central bank also maintains stability of exchange rate fixed by the government. Now there are three type of exchange rate system that you will study in the last unit. For now, just remember that out of those three exchange rate system, there is one fixed exchange rate system which is controlled by the government. Okay, so in that case, the in order to maintain the stability of exchange rate, okay, that is fixed by the government, the RBI increases or decreases the supply of foreign exchange according to the need. Okay, and by the sale and purchase of foreign currency in the market, it maintains the internal and external value of currency, that is balance of payments. Now this function is also extremely important. Okay, you will learn about it in detail in the last unit, but for now just remember that unlike all the market, there is a market for foreign exchange in which there is a supply and there is a demand and there is a supply for foreign exchange. Okay, whenever there is less supply of foreign exchange, suppose the supply of dollar is very less, then the value of dollar will increase, okay, in relation to rupee. Okay, so that will bring disparity in the value of rupee and dollar. In order to lower down this disparity, what RBI will do, RBI also has the stock of foreign exchange, so it will increase the supply of that foreign exchange, increase the supply of dollar in the market. Okay, as a result of which the value of foreign exchange will come down and the disparity between rupee and dollar will be sorted. All right, so in this way it maintains the internal and external value of the currency, that is balance of payment. We will do this in detail in the last lecture, but for now just remember it has all the foreign exchange, that is foreign currency, and having foreign currency is extremely important, right, in order to maintain the value of our own currency. Okay, and central bank has a stock of gold as well as international currency, and it helps in maintaining the value of the foreign exchange system that is fixed by the government. Okay, that is fixed exchange rate system, and it also helps in maintaining the internal and external value of our currency. Now the next important function that the RBI performs is of promoter of economic development. Okay, now as a promoter of economic development, it maintains price stability. How it maintains price stability, I told you, by fluctuating the supply and demand of the foreign exchange in the foreign exchange market. Okay, and it also maintains the foreign exchange rate stability. Okay, it is clear to you from what we have discussed previously, and it also helps in the development of money and credit market. It also functions for the social welfare in the economy. Why? Because commercial banks don't provide loan for the businesses which are unprofitable. They are hesitant in providing loans to poor people, to farm laborers, because the chances of recovery are very less in that case. So in those situations, what the central bank do, the central bank forces the commercial bank to provide a particular amount of loan to such sections as well. In this way, it is a promoter of social welfare as well as economic development in the country. Okay, and it also controls the credit, right? By controlling the money supply in the economy, it controls the situation of inflation and deflation, which is also very important for economic development. Hence, Reserve Bank of India is a promoter of economic development. From the functions that we discussed till now, two are extremely important, that is the facility of banker to the government and banker to the banks, and among that also lender of last resort is extremely important. Right, now the function that we will study from now is extremely important because a question for sure will come from this part. Okay, that is controller of credit and money supply, because this part overlaps with one more chapter. Okay, that is your next unit, determination of income, output and employment. So these all topics that we will study in the sixth function of central bank are also covered under that chapter. Okay, under that unit. That's why this is extremely important, and one question for sure will come from this feature. Okay, so controller of credit and money supply means, you all know what is money supply. Money supply means the total amount of credit that is held by the economy at a particular point of time. Okay, so in the form of currency as well as demand deposit. Sometimes the money supply in the economy rises, okay. In that situation, the demand of people, the aggregate demand of the economy, becomes greater than the aggregate supply, okay. And sometimes this money supply falls, and in such cases the aggregate demand of the economy falls short of the aggregate supply, because people don't have money to buy the goods that are produced in the economy, okay. That's why this situation occurs, right. Now, in order to overcome these situations, the central bank comes with various methods of credit control that we will discuss in this feature in detail, okay. Now let's see what are those measures of credit control that central bank has. Some are quantitative, okay, which quantitatively reduces or increases money supply, and some are qualitative, okay, which qualitatively reduces or increases the money supply, okay, in the economy. So before understanding all these things in detail, all these methods of credit control by central bank in detail, let's first discuss about what excess demand, inflation, or what deflation, deficient demand is, okay. So excess demand is a situation when aggregate demand, planned aggregate demand in the economy, is greater than the planned aggregate supply at full employment level, okay. So all the resources are fully employed, so resources and the goods produced cannot be increased further, hence the ultimate pressure will be on prices. So in situation of inflation, the prices will rise very rapidly, very highly, okay. So here your aggregate demand is higher than the aggregate supply, right. Whereas in situation of deficient demand or deflation, your aggregate supply is higher than the aggregate demand, all right. So since aggregate supply is higher, people don't have money to buy the goods, that's why the aggregate demand in the economy is lower. So here the central bank acts as a savior by injecting the money in the economy. Now how it injects the money and how it takes away the money from the economy in the situation of deflation and inflation respectively is what we have to study under credit control. We will do this excess demand as well as deficient demand in detail in our next unit as well, because it is the subject matter of next unit too, right. For now, just remember that excess demand is when aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply, and deficient demand is when aggregate supply is greater than the aggregate demand, okay. Now let's see what are the various measures that are taken by the central bank in order to curb excess demand and excess demand and deficient demand situation in the economy, okay. Let's see. The first is bank rate policy. Now I told you that this is your central bank, okay, and these are your commercial banks, okay. The way we deposit our money with the commercial banks, in the same way commercial banks also deposit their money with the central bank, and they also take loans from the central bank, okay. So bank rate policy is the interest rate which is charged by the central bank on the loans that are taken by the commercial banks for a long term, okay, without any collateral, okay. So bank rate policy is simply the rate of interest, okay, which is charged by the central bank on the loans that are taken without any collateral for long term, okay. So that interest rate is called bank rate policy. Now let's see what happens in the situation of excess demand and what happens in the situation of deficient demand. So in case of excess demand, already the money supply in the economy is very high, and the central bank wants to curb the money supply that is there in the economy. So in that case, it increases the bank rate policy, okay. It increases the rate of interest that it is charging on the loans that it is providing to the commercial banks for long period without any collateral. So because of this, the commercial banks are demotivated from taking more loans from the central bank. In this way the money supply in the economy reduces, okay. See, commercial banks are taking loan from the central bank, okay, and we are taking loan from the commercial bank, right. So if the interest rate charged on the loans taken by commercial banks from the central bank will increase, then automatically they will also increase the rate of interest that they are charging to the public on the loans that they are granting, all right. So as a result of it, people will be demotivated from taking much loans, as a result of which automatically the money supply in the economy will fall, okay. More money will not be taken in the economy, okay. So I hope that this is clear to you. Here just remember these 2 points, that this is without any collateral and for long term needs, okay, and the interest rate on such loans is bank rate policy. And in case of excess demand it is increased, in case of deficient demand it is decreased, okay, because the central bank wants the commercial banks to take more loans so that the money in the economy can be increased, so that public could be motivated for taking more loan, okay. And this is possible only if the central bank will provide loans to commercial bank at a lower interest. In turn, commercial banks will also provide loans at a lower interest to the public, okay. Now coming to the next measure of credit control, the next important measure is repo rate. See, repo rate is also the interest rate that is charged by the central bank on the loans that are taken by the commercial bank, but here the only difference is that these loans are for short period and they are in exchange of some approved securities, okay. In the later case, if you remember, in the former case what was there, in this case the loans were without any collateral and for meeting long term needs, but here in case of repo rate the loans are for short period and they are against some approved securities, okay, that the commercial banks are providing to the central bank. So sometimes the difference between bank rate policy and repo rate is also asked, so there you have to mention this difference, okay, that bank rate policy is for long period and without securities, whereas repo rate is for short period and with securities, right? So when the commercial banks are in need of funds for short period, they can borrow from the central bank, okay, against approved securities. The rate of interest charged by central bank on such lendings is called repo rate. Now what will happen in case of excess demand? Similarly, like bank rate policy, the repo rate will also increase in case of excess demand, and in case of deficient demand they will reduce the repo rate. Now why so? Why this will happen? Let's see. So see, in the situation of excess demand or inflation, rising repo rate makes such borrowings by the commercial bank costly, okay. As such, when repo rate is increased, banks are also forced to raise their lending rates. It makes the credit costlier and the demand for credit reduces. So less money goes in the economy and in turn purchasing power is reduced. Hence aggregate demand falls and the excess demand is corrected. Alright, that's why repo rate is increased in situation of excess demand. Whereas in condition of deficient demand, this repo rate is reduced, right? So in the situation of deficient demand, repo rate is reduced. It decreases the rate of interest, so demand for credit will increase, more money will flow into the system and the purchasing power of people will increase. Hence aggregate demand will rise and the deficient demand will be corrected. Alright, so I hope that repo rate is also clear to you. It is simply the interest rate charged on the loans that are taken by the commercial banks for short period against some securities, okay. And in excess demand, this rate of interest is increased to demotivate them from taking loan, and in case of deficient demand, this rate of interest is decreased to motivate them to take loan, so that money supply in the economy can increase. How? By taking loan, money supply in the economy will increase. See, if the RBI will provide loans to commercial banks at a lower interest rate, then commercial banks will also provide loan to the public at lower interest rate, and if public will take loan, they will do some investment, and that investment will employ a lot of people, due to which there will be generation of income, and this income generation will help to curb the situation of deficient demand, and hence your aggregate demand will rise and it will become equal to aggregate supply, and this deficient demand or deflation will be corrected. Now what is reverse repo rate? I told you that the central bank not only provides loan to the commercial banks, but it also deposits the fund of commercial banks, okay. So whenever the commercial banks have excess reserves, they deposit their money with the central bank, and central bank provides some interest on those deposits. So the rate of interest provided by central bank on such deposits, it is called reverse repo rate, okay. So I hope that this is clear. When the commercial banks have surplus funds, they can deposit the same with the central bank and can earn interest, and the rate of interest paid by the central bank on such deposits is called reverse repo rate, okay. Now what will happen in situation of excess demand? See, this is your central bank, Reserve Bank of India, and these are your commercial banks, right? So what will happen? commercial banks are keeping their funds with RBI. They will keep their fund with RBI only if the rate of interest provided by RBI is higher, right? And in situation of excess demand, already the money supply in the economy is very high, and the central bank wants to curb this money supply. So in this case, it will increase this rate of interest. Okay, why it will increase this rate of interest? So that the commercial banks could be motivated to park their fund with the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so if they will park their fund with Reserve Banks of India, they will have less money left for loans, hence money supply in the economy will be reduced. And here you all know that the main aim of commercial banks is to earn higher profit, and they know that their higher profit, they are earning higher interest rate through parking their funds with the RBI, okay, in situation of excess demand rather than lending it. That's why they will prefer to park their fund with RBI only when this interest rate, that is the reverse repo rate, is high. Hence, in the situation of excess demand, the reverse repo rate is increased. All right. So in situation of excess demand inflation, reverse repo rate is increased. It encourages the commercial bank to park their surplus fund with the central bank. This has a negative effect on the lending capability of the commercial banks, and demand for the credit reduces, less money goes to the economy, and aggregate demand falls and excess demand is corrected, right? But in the situation of deficient demand or deflation, reverse repo rate is reduced. It discourages the commercial bank to park their surplus fund with the central bank, therefore lowering reverse repo rate has a positive effect on the lending capability of the commercial banks, which raises demand for borrowing from the commercial banks. More money flows to the system, purchasing power increases, and aggregate demand rises, and deficient demand is corrected. Okay, when reverse repo rate, that is the rate of interest provided by Reserve Bank of India to commercial banks on their deposits, is lowered in situation of deficient demand, then they will be motivated to take back their funds, okay, and they will allocate their fund in other profitable sources. Okay, so why this central bank will reduce the reverse repo rate in situation of deficient demand. All right, now moving to the next important measure, it is open market operation. So open market operation means the buying and selling of government securities and bonds in the open market by the central bank. Okay, now what does it mean? See, it means that there are some securities, there are some government securities that are there with the central bank. Okay, so central bank by selling those securities receives some money, and by giving some money, it again gets back those securities. Okay, so in situation of excess demand, already there is a huge money supply in the economy. So what the central bank will do? Central bank will sell the securities that it have. Okay, and by selling all those securities, it will get money. Okay, in return of that, it will get money. So money supply in the economy can be reduced. But in the situation of deficient demand, what the central bank will do? In such situation, they will purchase the government securities from commercial banks. As a result, it will increase the cash reserves with the commercial banks. Okay, what they will do? They will give money to the commercial banks, and in return of that, they will receive the securities that the commercial banks have in situation of deficient demand. Okay, I think that this is clear to you, open market operation. Now coming to the next very important measure, it is legal reserve ratio. You are already aware with it. Okay, so it is that fraction of deposit of commercial banks which is legally compulsory for them to maintain on two accounts, on the account of cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio. So cash reserve ratio is that fraction of total deposit that is mandatory for the commercial banks to maintain with the central bank as a measure of credit control, right? So cash reserve ratio is a minimum percentage of deposit of commercial banks that includes net demand deposits as well as time liabilities, which is kept in cash form with the Reserve Bank of India. So in case of excess demand, central bank increases the cash reserve ratio. Okay, in situation of excess demand, it increases the cash reserve ratio so that there will be less money left with the commercial banks to lend. Okay, and in situation of deficient demand, it decreases the cash reserve ratio so that there could be more money with the commercial banks to lend and to increase the supply in the money supply in the economy. Now coming to the next important one, it is statutory liquidity ratio. So it is a percentage of deposit of commercial banks that includes net deposit and time liabilities, which every bank is required to maintain with itself in the form of liquid assets. These liquid assets may be Axis Reserve, government and other approved securities, current account balance with other banks, etc. So in the situation of excess demand, this ratio is increased so that less money goes out in the economy, and in situation of deficient demand, this is reduced so that more money can go in the economy. Okay, so statutory liquidity ratio is maintained so that the bank can meet its daily requirement of the people who want to withdraw their money from the bank. Okay, now we are done with all the quantitative measures. Now we will do qualitative measures. See, you can notice that all those measures were controlling the money supply quantitatively, okay, by reducing the percentage. But now let's see what qualitative measures can do. The first important qualitative measure is margin requirement. Margin is a percentage down payment on borrowing. Okay, a margin is the difference between market value of the securities offered by the borrower against the loan and the amount of loan granted. It is also defined as the discount fixed by the Reserve Bank of India on the assets mortgaged as security to the commercial banks, right? Now see, in order to explain it, I'll take an example. Suppose you want a loan of rupees 50 crore. Okay, you want a loan of rupees 50 crore from the commercial bank, right? So you need to give some securities first of all, then and only you will get loan. Okay, so suppose you have mortgaged your house as a security. You have given the papers of your house to the bank in order to get this loan. Okay, mortgage means girvi rakhna. Okay, so you have mortgaged your house as a security. So the value of your house is 50 crore. So the bank won't provide you the loan equivalent to the value of the assets that you are mortgaging, because in that case there is an incentive on your part to flee from giving loan, okay, to abscond from giving loan. That's why the bank provide you a loan amount which is less than the value of the securities that you are mortgaging, okay, that you are the securities against which you are getting the loan. Okay, otherwise you will say I have got rupees 50 crore loan and I have kept 50 crore security with the bank, so the amount is equal. Then you won't have the incentive of repaying the loan, okay, because you know the max the bank can do is to capture your security and you are satisfied with it, right? Because the value of your security is also equivalent to the loan that you got. So in such situations you will not pay the loan. Okay, so in order to make you pay the loan, the banks always give you the loan amount which is lesser than the amount of the securities that you are mortgaging. Okay, so if you want the loan of rupees 10 crore, then at least your security should be of rupees 15 crore. Okay, then and only the bank will provide you loan. Otherwise you will have an incentive to not return the loan. All right, so always remember that the loan amount is provided to a lesser percent, and who will decide that how much loan will be provided against how much security? It is the RBI by setting out the margin requirement. Okay, so I hope that this is clear to you. Now in situation of excess demand, margin requirement is increased. Okay, why? Because already there is very much money in the economy, so the RBI will increase the margin requirement. Suppose earlier it was 10%, so if you want the loan of rupees 100, then you will get only the loan of rupees 90. Okay, that is 10% less, rupees 90 only. So you should first give the securities of rupees 100, then only you will get the loan of rupees 90. Now in situation of excess demand, the margin requirement will be increased, let's say, to 30%. Okay, so then what will happen? You will now get the loan of only 70 rupees against the securities of rupees 100. Okay, so this is how margin requirement helps in controlling money supply in the economy. And in the situation of deficient demand, central bank reduces the margin requirement. Now next important measure of credit control is rationing of credit. See, the central bank fixes credit quota for commercial banks. So in situation of excess demand, if the commercial bank seeks more loan, Then the fixed quota, they will have to pay higher interest, and in situation of deficient demand, if the commercial banks seek more loan than their fixed quota, they will have to pay lower interest. The next is moral Suzanne. Moral Suzanne is a combination of persuasion and pressure that the central bank applies to other bank in order to get them fall in lines of its policy. It is done through letters, speeches, hints, etc. to the bank. In simple word, request, appeal and persuasion by the central bank to the commercial bank is called moral Suzanne. Right? In the situation of excess demand, the central bank requests commercial bank to reduce credit, and in situation of deficient demand, the request is made to increase the credit by the central bank. So here simply the central bank is writing letter and requesting to the commercial banks to increase money supply in case of deficient demand by making the interest rate on loans lower, okay, and also by making the interest that is paid to the public lower, so that public could be motivated to take away their funds and to invest it, so that the money supply in the economy can be increased. And in situation of inflation, they are forced to increase the interest rate, okay, so that less people can take the loan, okay, and they will take less interest, they will take less loans if the interest rate is higher, okay, and also to pay higher interest rate so that people could park their funds with the commercial banks, okay. So such persuasion is given to such letters are written to the commercial banks by the central bank, okay. In this way the money supply in the economy can be controlled. Now the next important is regulation of consumer credit. See, if you want to buy a car on loan, then if the car is of 10 lakh, okay, then a particular amount should be paid by you, okay. So if you are paying 3 lakh, then the bank will finance only the rest rupees 7 lakh, okay. So there is a particular amount that you have to pay, and that particular amount is called consumer credit. So regulation of consumer credit means a certain percentage of the price of durable good is paid by the consumers in cash, and the balance is financed through the bank credit, which is repayable by the consumers in installments. So in the situation of excess demand, percentage of price paid by the consumer is increased, and in the situation of deficient demand, percentage of price paid by the consumers is decreased, as the economy already has less of money supply, okay. So if you have taken a car on installments, so in the situation of excess demand, the money paid by you, if it was earlier just 2 lakh, okay, and the rest 8 lakh were financed by the bank, so in the situation of excess demand, the money amount paid by you will be increased from 2 to let's say 4 lakh, and the bank will only finance 6 lakh, right. So that in this way money supply in the economy could be curbed. Similarly, in the situation of deficient demand, the amount paid by bank will be increased and the amount paid by the consumers will be decreased. I hope that all these things are clear to you. In this entire video, all the topics are extremely important, because the question from this video will surely come. One I told you is your one that I told you is your repo rate, reverse repo rate, then cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio. These are extremely important, and one among them will surely come, okay, and your lender of last resort will also surely come. So discuss all these things, read all these things to the greatest depth as you can, okay. So we are done with all the methods of credit control, okay. We did first of all quantitative method, in which we did bank rate policy, which is the interest rate charged on loans which are for long term without any securities, okay, that are taken by commercial banks. And repo rate is the interest charged by the central bank on the loans which are taken for short period with approved securities by the commercial bank. Reverse repo rate is the interest that is paid by the central bank to the commercial banks on the deposits that they are making with the central bank. Open market operation is sale and purchase of securities. Then we discussed all the legal reserve ratio, CRR and SLR, okay. CRR is the percentage that they have to maintain with RBI, SLR they have to maintain with themselves, okay. And then margin requirement we discussed, okay, and I told you it is percentage down payment on borrowing, okay. And then we did rationing of credit, moral Suzanne, that is persuasion, okay, in which the RBI writes letter dictating its terms to to the commercial banks. Then we did regulation of consumer credit, in which a certain part of credit is paid by consumers and a part of a loan on fixed asset is paid by the bank. Okay, and what happens in the respective situation of excess demand and deficient demand is what we discussed, right? Among all these things, your bank rate policy and repo rate difference is often asked. Repo rate, reverse repo rate, open market operation, legal reserves are extremely important. Sometimes moral suasion is also asked, and other concepts can also be asked. Okay, margin requirement is also asked many a times, right? So here you can see we are done with everything. In the first video we did the first part of the syllabus of this chapter, from where you will find the questions of only 1 marks, right? Or if the examiner is interested, he can give the question, he or she can give the question of 3 marks as well, but generally 1 markers are seen from this part. And from the second part, the question of 6 marks and 3 marks are seen. Okay, so from here I'm sure a question will surely come from credit creation. It is extremely important, and from this part a question of 6 marks is always seen because it overlaps with the part of 2 chapter. Okay, and here what is important and what is not, I have told you. Please go through all those concepts very perfectly. Now this chapter is entirely of 6 marks, so anything can come. They can ask this will surely come as a part of your next chapter or as a part of this chapter. Okay, it depends. Okay, but these are extremely important, so go through it. It is like a free marks for you because you can just learn all the concepts perfectly and you will be at the gain. You will gain marks as well as the knowledge of understanding your real world, okay, that is going on. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have still any confusion, then you can comment down below. So that's all for this video. Please like, share and subscribe. And if you find it interesting, then please comment down below if you want other videos of this series as well. Okay, otherwise it's very tough for me to know whether you are getting what I am teaching or not. So I want at least 10 comments on this video so that I can be assured that you are understanding everything and I can make further videos. Thank you.